Guys, one second. Okay, so in this series we are going to create a simple CRUD application in the Spring Boot as well as React and Angular. But as of now, first we are going to start with Spring Boot, then meanwhile we are going to see how to integrate with the React application as well as Angular application. Okay, so here as you can see here, this is a simple CRUD application. So what are we going to do? It's like a creating the users, deleting the users, updating the users, and reading the users list. So this is the database which we are going to create in our MySQL. So this is the database, the table name. The table is going to consist of this many field. So name, address, email, mobile number, date of birth, and the ID. ID is the auto increment field. Okay, so this is what we are going to do in this YouTube series. Okay, so first of all, we know how to create a Spring Boot application. So I am navigating to the start.spring.io. So I am selecting the Gradle, and whatever the version you want to use, that you can mention it here. And here I will mention as CRUD app. Okay, so and here also I am mentioning the same thing, and a demo project. This is a CRUD app for Spring Boot. I will use this thing. On packaging, we can select var itself, and as I am using Java 8 in my system, I am selecting here. If you are using any other versions, that you can use it. And also the dependencies, as we all know, we are going to use MySQL. So I need to use MySQL driver as well as JPA. Okay, and then I need to use a repository. Okay, any other thing? I think these are all the basic dependencies in order to create the Spring Boot application. So driver, JPA, REST repository, yes. So by clicking this generate, it will generate. Yeah, okay, one second. Yeah, as you can see here, our application is generated. Okay, so now I am going to extract this application in a particular folder. Once again, so I will create a new folder called CrudApp. Okay, and inside this I'm going to paste this one, and here I will extract. Okay, it's fine. Now I'm going to open the IntelliJ. So as you can see, this is the IntelliJ. Inside the IntelliJ, I'm going to import the project. So I'm opening IntelliJ. Click on the open. So inside that I'm going to have a project. Inside the project I'm going to have a YouTube. So this is the folder and the CrudApp, this one, and yes. Once again, let me change the display. Okay, so as you can see here, yes, it is downloading the dependency for my Spring Boot application. Let's see when it will get. Okay, so before that we will conclude what are the APIs we need to implement and the services and everything. Okay, so in the controller we are going to have a, I think one controller is enough. The controller is user controller. So inside the user controller, what we are going to do, we are going to one create API, and then one delete. Maybe we will have a listing list user. Maybe we can have a user slash create, and here we will have a user slash list, and here we will have a user slash delete, and then user slash update. Okay, so these are all the APIs which we are going to do. And one more thing, like for the creation, it is the post method, as we all know. Listing means we can use get. Deleting, of course, it can be deleting also, but here I'm going to have a post as usual. And update, of course it has to be update, but it should be with the user ID also. If you want to have, you can mention in the URL, otherwise you can mention in the request body itself. So here I am mentioning the user ID in the request URL, like a simple different. Okay, this is the controller, and we are going to have a simple user service. So this service is responsible for doing all the DB operations. So let's see how to create what are the methods which is need to be included in the service class. Then we are having a user model. We can have user model or whatever it may be. So I'm having a user model. So this user model will have the field of these things. Copy and paste it here. Except this ID, I can mention as long here ID, and then everything will be there. And here I can mention local date. Yes, as it is in a date format, right? So this one I'm mentioning here, and this all the fine. So everything can be as a string itself. String is fine, no? That's it. Okay, so this is the different thing. I think I'm having some issue in this thing. What is the issue? Okay, let it be. That I will rectify later. First of all, we will create all these necessary packages for our application. Okay, so inside the CRUD application, this is the package. So right click, and I am creating a 3 different packages. What is the package? So first package is controller. Second package is I am creating a service. Third package I am creating a model, and then I am creating a repository. Okay, so this is the one. Now in the controller I am going to create the simple controller called user controller. I think I am not getting any Java related things. Anyhow, it's fine. Versions mismatching Gradle is not able to compile, so I have done change manually, but however I will upload the code in the YouTube so you can refer it. Okay, fine. So now we will go for creating the Java files. As you can see here, now let me create a simple controller called user controller. So this thing is already we have discussed, right? If you can remember, yes, this user controller, this one, all this we are going to create now. So here first let me create a user controller. Okay, and then I need to create a model. It can be it's going to be user model, and then repository, it's going to be user repository, and then service is going to be user service. Again, the name whatever I'm mentioning is just our wish actually. Okay, whatever the name you want, you can mention it here. Okay, so in order to mention as REST controller, I need to use annotation called REST controller. The same way, when it comes to repository, we need to mention the repository. And one more thing, that the repository should be in the interface, correct? Then only we can extend the REST repository. So extends of REST JPA repository. But one more thing, like I need to enable this one. Okay, this step is not needed, guys, because this I manually commented this line. Okay, so now I need to enable the, I need to refresh. Once again, JPA, yeah, JPA repository, and this going to be for user model, comma, long is the ID, correct? Okay, so the repository is ready, and then model we need to create. So here we need to use the annotation called entity, and then with the annotation called table. This table still we need to create. I didn't mention anything. I'm just mentioning the name alone, which is called a user. Okay, this table we will create it now. Fine. So the field name in the model are this are the one. So copy and all these things. Okay, and here I will mention this ID, which means it's a unique ID. Okay, so model is ready, repository is ready, service is also ready, but we need to add the annotation called service. That's it. And then go for the controller. We will have a REST controller. Okay, so now as we discussed already, that we need to create 4 different methods. So let me copy everything, and I'm going to create a simple controller here which is called this one. Okay, so here I'm going to create a simple method called public, and first one is about response entity. So response entity is nothing but to send the response, whatever the response we want to send to the client. This is the return method, a return type from the Spring Boot application. So here first method is going to create user. Okay, and one more thing, like I'm going to create some generic URL, which is the common URL, we can say request mapping. So here I'm going to mention the user. So what is the use of this line is like, whatever the method available inside the controller, it will has to follow by this URL only. For example, here I will mention post mapping. Okay, inside the post mapping I'm mentioning create. So this method cannot directly accessed. In order to access this method, we need to have user/create. Okay, the same way, if we want to use one more method called update, right? So we can say update user. So it can be update. Okay, so in this update, when now if I want to call this method, then it should be user/update like this. Okay, so now the same way, if I want to the next one is about the listing the users. Okay, so it should be get mapping, as we all know, because listing can be done by only this one. So here I need to use this list, and it's going to be a list user. Okay, so for in order to access this method, we need to have a user/list. Okay, fine. So now the next one is about the last one is about the deleting the user. For deleting, we can go for delete mapping or anything. So I'm using a delete mapping alone. So delete mapping, delete user. Okay, so inside this delete user, I'm going to mention public response entity, and I'm going to have a simple okay, so for creating the user, updating the user, listing the users, we don't have anything. Okay, in case if I want to search any user based on the email, then I can go for this also. So list slash, this is kind of dynamic URL. So the request can be slash list slash email. For that one I'm using, and it should be accessed by the path variable. So path variable means the variable which is coming in the path itself. Okay, string and then email. Okay, guys. So as you can see here, this path variable will help us to identify the user based on the email. Okay, so like this we can add a number of methods, but as of now I'm just adding this method for your understanding. So here we are having a 4 different options. So one for creating the user, second one is for updating the user, next one is about reading the user, or we can say the listing the user, then we are finding the user by email, then we are deleting the user, the last one. Okay, for deleting the user, again I need to add one more method type which is called a delete. Okay, so here how are we deleting? So based on the ID or any other unique element, so that we can mention it as a path variable itself. So here I can mention as user ID as the ID here. Okay, so here I need to mention one more variable called long, so to retrieve the user ID from the path variable. So the same annotation which we used for email, right, the above one. So here also I'm using the same path variable which is long, and I'm having a user ID. That's it. Okay, so the below methods which helps us to path variable and all these things. Okay, I think path variable, yeah, I think everything is fine. Now the next thing is we need to go for user service. Yes, so here, okay, generally people will create an interface. That interface they will implement to the user service. That is also one of way of implementing. As it is in a simple project, I am not going to that deeper, which means going to create a separate interface and I'm going to implement it here, because if you want to write any unit testing, then we can go for that method. As this is a simple application, I'm not going to that deeper. So here directly I'm writing the method inside the class. Okay, so here I'm going to have a first method is for creating the user. So user model, we can say create user. Okay, so yes, so here one more package I will create as a request. This is a new package which is called request to Pojo. So request to Pojo is nothing but whatever the request come to our application, right, that we need to receive. So in order to receive that, I'm going to create a class called user request. So whenever the request comes, it has to match with this pojo class. So here I need to mention long id and then long id and then string name and then what others, the field whichever we are having in our model, right? That all these things we need to mention because we cannot directly use the model in the controller. So I'm just copying and I'm going to paste inside the user request. Yeah, so here I will mention all these things here. Yeah, okay, so now I'm having id, name and all these things, and I will create a, I think we need to add one more library called what is it? Oh, if I get the name, Lombok. So this is helps us to creating the getter setter methods without writing the concrete codes. Where is the Gradle? Okay, so I will add this Gradle in our application. Okay, this Lombok will help us to create a getter setters without, yeah, I think it is installed as you can see here. Okay, right, now let me go to the user request and here I will add the getter. Super. It's okay, fine. I thought it might not work. Okay, so the getter setter is created now. Now what I can do is I can, without creating any getter setter methods, by using this annotation, this will be created. And now copy this user request, go to the user service. So inside the user service, I will mention this request, user request. That's it. Okay, so here and now we need to inject the repository which is called user repository by using the auto-where annotation. So this auto-where annotation is called dependency injection. Where I need to mention the user repository, user repository and user repo. Okay, so here what I am going to do, first I am going to assign the value to the user model because we cannot directly use the user request. So first I need to mention the user model and user model. Okay, so here user repository dot save, here I need to mention the user model. Okay, so inside the user model I am going to set the value for user model dot set. Super. One second, guys. Setter. Okay, so I am having a both getter and setter here, and inside the user service I am going to have a set address. ID is not needed because ID is DB value. Okay, so here user request dot get address. Okay, so like this we need to set for all the variables. One second. So set DOB and then user model dot set email, user model dot set mobile, user model dot set, what is this missing, name. Okay, so here I will have a user request dot get DOB, user request dot get email, user request dot get mobile number, user request dot get name. Okay, so as you can see here, all the model field, or we can say the DB field has been filled with this user request, and we are saving the, we can say, insert the new user in the database. Okay, so now the first CRUD operations for creating the user is completed. Now the next one is about, we need to return the model as it is. Okay, so it's fine. So now the next one is about, we need to create the user, update the user. So for updating, as we know, we need to update based on the ID. Maybe first we will complete delete, as it is very easy to implement. So delete user, delete can be done by the ID. So we need only one argument which is called ID. so that I will mention it here as id here. And okay, so as we know, delete can be done for the existing user, correct? We don't need to, if it is not available, then we need to throw the error. So I'm going to create one more private method here to check the user or to get the user by ID. So private user model get user by ID. Okay, so because the reason why I'm using this method is that this will be useful in lots of places, so I'm just creating a separate one. I don't know whether will it going to be used or not, but I'm just creating for reusable purposes. Okay, so first one is here we need to use user repository dot find by ID, and here I need to mention the ID. And one more thing, like it will return the optional, so I need to mention as or else throw, and here I need to mention the sorry, I just is a JavaScript. Okay, new exception. I forget this all this syntax, guys. Once again, so the reason is it's a long time. Once again, user model should be throws exception. Yeah, okay, it's fine. So I can say user is not found. Okay, and the last one is I can say return user model, which will return the user. Okay, now here what we are going to do, we are going to get the user, this one like this dot get user by ID, this is by ID, and here user model and all these things. Here we don't need this one. Indirectly what we can do, using the repository dot delete user model. Okay, so yes, and yes, we need to handle this error also, throws exception. So because as it is written the throws exception, here also we need to do the same thing. Okay, and yes, I think this delete user is fine, create user is also fine, updation and listing the user. Yeah, listing the users and listing the user by email. I think two methods are needed. I think this method, I think we can go for this itself. So get users. Okay, so get users, we don't need all these things. Okay, we can remove this also. So instead what we are going to do, in the repository JPA repository, we have the method called find all, which helps us to load all the users. And one more thing, like it will return by the list of this one. So I need to mention this list of user model. Okay, here we can have a user model list. Okay, so this user model list I will send as a response, and here I will have a list of user model. Oh, sorry. Okay, I think, yeah, save this one, refresh it. What is the issue? Okay, the issue is like it is importing the different file. I don't know why this my IntelliJ is always importing the wrong one. Once again, so shift to O. Okay, so I have included the proper list here. So java.util.list. Okay, and user model list get users will help us to get the user, get user by ID, delete user. Okay, so next one is about the get user by email. Again, one more thing, this method has to be public. Okay, so this public I will sorry, control C and control V, it should be like get user by email, and it should be like string email. Okay, so which means we are going to get the user by email. I think only this alone we need to write a custom query, because this email will not have a default search. So here what I am going to do, I am going to write a simple search query here. So by using the query annotation which is available in here. So query, and here I need to mention select user from user model user, where user dot email equal to the first argument. Okay, so this has to be list of it cannot be list because this email has to be unique one. So because of that I'm using a direct user model itself, as it is written only one user. So get user by email, and here it should be string of email, it's a first argument. Okay, that's it. So now what I'm going to do, I will call this method from the repository as it is in service. So get user by email, and here I need to mention this one, and here the email. That's it. So it will be in a user model, as we all know. So user model, I think we can do one more thing here instead of, because if we are providing the email which is not exist, we need to handle the error now. So in order to do that, we can return the optional from the repository. So optional is a Java 8 feature, as we all know. So if there is a null, so here, so yes, so now as usual this one we can use it. Okay, but why it is throwing error? Unexpected exception. Okay, so we need to add this error and this one. Okay, so yes, and here it should be list of this one, and yes, I think everything is fine. As you can see here, creation and reading, and only the updation is missing. Okay, let me do for updation also. So for the update, it is like update user, so by the ID as well as based on the request. Okay, so here it is user request again one more time. So user request and user request. Okay, so again the reason why are we using ID is that using this ID only we can update, because update can be done only for the existing user now. So we need to use this ID, and one more thing, like this ID is already we are using, so this ID will help us to identify the existing user. If the user is exist, then we can go for this one, otherwise it will throw the error. That logic is already written in this method. So this is the reason why I'm creating this method as a custom method or separate method, but that this method can be used here as well as during the updation also. Okay, so now we are going to do the update thing. Okay, if one more thing, like this updation can be done with the different implementation. I am using a simplified one. If the request is not empty, we can say get address dot equals. Again guys, this is not a only solution for updation, there is a different way of implementation. I am using a simple one here. Okay, so if the request address is not empty, then I am going to this, I think this we can copy it. I can set this one request, copy this one. Okay, so yes, the same way we need to write for all these methods. If user request dot get dob dot equals not empty, I don't know whether the logic is correct or not, still we need to verify, but as of now we will complete this scenario. Okay, so if user request dot get email equals not empty, I hope the email cannot be updated as we are going to set it as unique one, but just for the sake we will add it. If user request dot get email dot equals as empty, oh guys, this should be not empty, no? I think there is a method called string utils.empty, that also we can use it. Okay, let's see. So user request dot get name dot equals not empty. set name, and here is a get name. That's it. Okay, so this is what about all these things here, and the last one is about user request dot save. User repo. But why it is showing this here? Because it should be model. Okay, so now you can have a question like how this can be updatable. Once again, return, the last one is about the returning the model. Okay, so here the question is about here for creating the record also we are using the save, for updating the record also we are using the same save, correct? Same save method. So how it works means, the main difference between the creation and updation is, creation will happen, creating the record will happen with the new user model, but when it comes to updation, this will with the existing user. Okay, so this is the difference between creating the and updating the user. So here update, sorry, so update will happen based on existing user ID. Okay, so this is what about the main thing here. Okay, so I think all these methods are completed. Let's integrate with our controller. So let me split the window and go to the controller. So first we need to integrate our service here. So let me auto wire. Okay, so here we can say first we need to have the user service, and in order to create the user, first we need to have the request body. Okay, this request body is nothing but to receive the user details. So here we can have a user request, first one. This is user request. Okay, so here I can have a, I can directly call this user service dot create user with the user request. Okay, so yes, as you can see here it is fine. And one more thing, like it, yes, still one more, like it will return the user model. So user model dot, I think this is not the proper way, but just for the sake I'm using, because normally model class will not be used in the controller to send a response, but this is okay. Return response entity dot okay and user model. Okay, that's one. So still we need to write some of the codes to handle the errors and all. So as of now I'm not using, that's fine. Okay, so next one is about the update users, which will return the exception. So here I need to write a try and catch. So try catch and exception. Okay, so here I will call this user service dot update user. So update user will expect the two argument. One is the ID of the user, another one is the details. So this ID I can access it from the path variable itself. So user ID, and then it's a request body also. Okay, so this second I will copy paste here. And also one more thing is like this user ID, this I will copy from here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so update the user with the user ID, so which is the first one. Next one is about the user request, that's it. Okay, so user request and all these things, let me save it, and let me, this one exception e, and here what I'm going to do, if any exception comes, I think this will help us to do this thing. Yes, so here bad request and yeah, user model, and yes, I think this should be something different once again. So here we need to write something. Okay, so we need to create a one more response class here, so to handle this custom response. If I go to the, here I will create a one more project class which is called response. As it is in a small project, I think it is not needed, but when it comes to bigger projects, then we need to create each and every request response in a separate class. Okay, so here we can have a user response, and this user response will have a string of message. It's enough. Okay, I will have a one getter setter. Okay, fine. Let me save all these things, and controller. Here what I'm going to do, what is the class name? User response, right? Okay, maybe I will do, okay, user response equal to new user response dot set message. Here I can say error, and the error has to be error dot get message. Okay, so this response I will send as a response. This object I am going to send as a response, and bad request dot body, yeah, something, one second. Why this is not accepting? I think something has to come here. Dot. Okay. Okay, fine. So yes, this is completed. Next one is about the listing the users. Listing the user will be very easy, as we all know. So the directly we can call this method, the service method, user service dot get users. Okay, so fine. So the last one is about the I think for this thing we need a try catch, because it may return error. So this thing is get user by email, and this email already we are having a parameter, and this one I will mention it here, and all these things, and the error comes with this one. Okay, for this thing also we need to use the try catch for deleting the user. So copy and paste it here. Okay, so here I need to mention the user ID in order to delete the user. So yes, and ID and all these things, yes, save it. Okay, fine. So everything is fine, guys. As you can see here, the controller is fine, and the repository is fine, as well as the which is called model is also fine. Okay, so now we need to go to the database, and we need to create a particular database, or we need to use the existing database. And one more thing, like we need to mention the database configuration in our application properties. Okay, so because in order to connect our Java application with our Java application with our database, we need a proper connection. So here, connect MySQL Spring Boot application properties. This we need to mention it here, because there is some 4 lines of code is there. All these things once again. Yeah. So this is the code here. So let me copy this one, and I will paste it here. Okay. As I'm using my local MySQL localhost and DB, I need to mention it here, and there is no default user, and there is no password here, and yes, everything is fine here. Let me save it and open the workbench. I think already I'm having a workbench here. My MySQL is already running here. Okay, let me open the database. What type of database I'm going to use? Still I'm under confusion. I think I may have any database called YouTube or anything. Okay, maybe yes, there is a table called YouTube. This is a old previous tutorial. Shall I create a new one? Okay, so YouTube CrudApp. Okay, this is the new database I am creating, and generally we should not use this caps and all, because it may create a conflict as the standard. So let me create apply, and as you can see here, yes, it is working fine. Now let me copy, and I will paste it here, save it, and go to go to the YouTube here, and here I am going to create a new table. So expand it, table, right click, create table. Okay, so here I need to mention the table called user, and the column called ID, integer, auto increment, which will increment automatically. So let me drag it. Sorry, what are the fields we need to create? Let me one second, guys. Let me split the window. Yeah, so ID is already created, and name, address. Okay, I'm not checking the data type as of now. Okay, So email, and it has to be unique, so I am mentioning as a unique here. And what is that? Mobile and date of birth. Okay, so yeah, mobile and then date of birth. So date of birth should be DOB. It's not have anything date and time and all, so I am having a only date. What is the date? Okay, so name, address, email. This address maybe we can have some text if you want. Where is the text? Yep, this text. One second guys, the text is okay. Okay, so yes, name, address, email, mobile number, DOB, and the mobile number is unique one and DOB is created. Now let me let me create the table, apply, and yes. Okay, one more thing, like this, all these things I will upload in the in my GitHub repository. So yes, even the SQL script also I will upload it. Okay. Okay, so now this is a table name. As you can see here, I have already configured in the model class. As you can see in the left side, the model is already connected with this table name, so no need to mention anything here. But when it comes to application property file, here we need to mention this one. Okay, it is also fine. Okay, everything is working fine guys. Only thing is we need to start the application and we need to check it out. Super. I am getting error as something. What is error? Yeah guys, okay, so actually one more thing, that as we are working on the Lombok, right? So in the Lombok I need to add this annotation also, which means this dependency also we need to add, because while compiling it has to download this library. So one is for compilation, one is for annotation. So these two lines are needed in the IntelliJ file. Okay, so once we are adding these two lines only, we can able to compile the Lombok. Okay, so now I didn't make, as you can see here already we have added this configuration for connecting the database. Okay, and one more thing, I have done the change. So here I have just added this line which helps us to increment the mention this field as auto increment. Okay, so we need to mention this field. And one more thing, like whenever we are using date and time, right, we need to mention what type of format we are passing from the client side. So this two annotations I have added in the model class. One is generated value, next one is about the JSON format. Okay, that's it. Okay, so now what we can do, I think I didn't do any other change. So one is I have just added the annotation in the build.gradle file. Next one is about in the model class I just added this generated value as well as this JSON format. Okay, fine. I think now if I run this application, everything will work fine. Yeah, as you can see here, everything works fine. So let me open the workbench to check whether all the data insertion, everything is working fine or not. Okay, so let me open the workbench, or whatever the editor find for you that you can use it. Okay, so what is the, yeah, so this is the database which we are using. So let me open the new table user. Okay, now it has only one data which I have tried now. Okay, so let me run the application. Okay, application is running fine on the port number 8080. So let me open the postman to give the request. So this is a tool which helps us to send the request. Let me close other requests. Okay, so in order to send the request from our application, go to the controller. From the controller we used to have a /user/create. Okay, so now go to this here. So let me open the post. Here I will provide the here I will provide the create. So /user/create, and we need to provide the request body also. Okay, so this user request, go to the raw. First we need to select the body, go to the raw, and here we need to select the JSON, and I need to provide the address, DOB, name, email, mobile number, or whatever the field which we are expecting. So if you go to the service, these are all the expected fields. As you can see here, I didn't add any validations. Okay, so if any field becomes empty, what will happen? That scenario I didn't handle. So if the request comes, it will store it in the database. So here I am giving address, DOB, maybe inside the DOB I will put like 8, and name, email, mobile number, all these things I am providing here. Let me send the request. If it works fine, we will get the 200. Okay, if it is not working fine, it will throw the error. Okay, so as you can see here, we will go to the workbench. So here we can clearly see that there is a one record. After refreshing it, let me check where is the refresh icon. Okay. Okay, so now as you can see here, two records are showing here. Maybe for your understanding, we will do one more thing. Name I will put like Jan25, and email I will put jan25@gmail.com. Mobile number, some different mobile number I am providing. Okay, so yes, let me send the request. Okay, as you can see here, the ID3 is coming, which means the previous total records were 2. If I run this query, I will have a Jan25, all these things is showing fine. Okay, so that's it guys. So this is what about creating the record. What about the listing the records? So as we know, I think we already have API for this one, listing the users. Okay, so here go to this postman tool, select the change the method as get this, because the post will not be useful for the listing the users. So list is designed with the get mapping, so get, and here I will select the list. Okay, so send it. As you can see here, I can get all the user list. Okay, and we are having one more API called list slash email, right? That is also we will check it now. So list slash email is nothing but yeah, jan25@gmail.com I'm providing here for testing purposes. List out. Yes guys, we got it. If I give wrong email which is not exist in our DB database, yes, user is not found. Okay, so yes, creating and searching is also working fine. The last thing is about deletion. So go to this one, user slash delete, and here I need to provide the ID of the particular user. Okay, so maybe what I'm doing is first we will check what are the users available, then we will give the ID to check. Okay, in the another tab I am opening one more URL called a list, which will help us to get all the list. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete the second user. So in the URL I need to provide the ID alone, as we have designed the API which will accept only this ID. Send it. Okay, not allowed because it is in the delete mapping. Okay, so I need to select the delete mapping here, send the request. Yeah, okay, yeah, it is deleted, I think so. If I go to this one and refresh it, yeah, I can get this one. I think this is not the proper output guys, this delete, because once it is get deleted we should not send the data, no, it should be the proper response. So what I'm going to do, I will use this response for this one, because for deletion it should be like deleted successfully, correct? That is the proper one, deleted FULLY. Okay, so this message I will put it as a response for the deletion. Okay, this, however, this will work. Okay, that's it guys, that's it guys. So this is what about the simple CRUD application. I think still we need to check this update on, no, so update, yeah, update also, shall we check it out? So here I need to check the update, and I need to pass the user ID, that's fine. So the user ID is I can 1. Okay, and for this guy I am going to update his email alone, I am not passing any other field. So I will remove all other field. Okay, so here I will put like update@gmail.com for this first guy. Let's see. Okay, it should be post. Super, some error came. What is the error? Update slash user ID update@gmail.com. Why I am getting error? 400 bad request is coming. Okay, okay, it should be not. I think this validation also not proper one, because we need to use string utils.empty. Okay, so here what will happen, if email is not empty, then it will set the email and it will do all these things. Let me refresh it. I think for the first user we are updating his email alone. Super. I don't know, somewhere we are getting the email. I think it is not properly printed. Once again, I'm just print stack says to check what is the issue. null pointer exception on the line number 28. Okay. Okay, this because the address field itself becomes empty. Okay, so okay, this is the reason we need to use this default the spring utils.empty. Let me check. I forget that method. Spring okay, yeah, this is what about this thing we need to use, guys. Once again, let me, if it is empty, I think it will give us the boolean value. I will change it. Once again, okay, so let me remove this code. Okay, so here also we need to add all these same conditions. If it is not empty, then only it has to do. I think this save should work only when there is no updation. Okay, I think these conditions and all I am not checking as of now. Okay, just for this simple application I am not doing any complex logics here. Okay, let me refresh the application and we will give the request. Is it okay? Yeah, it is working fine, guys. Maybe let's go for the list. Yeah, so the email is updated for the particular person, and if you want to update any other field, all these things we can provide. As you can see here, now I am updating only the email. If you want to update mobile, date of birth and all other things, then you can provide all these things here. Okay, that's it. So as you can see here, creation, updation, deletion and reading the data, so which means that CRUD operations, all the 4 operations has completed. Okay, now in this series what we are going to do, now we are going to connect with Angular and React also. So yes, that will also maybe in the playlist you can see it. And if you have any doubts, any clarifications, you can comment it. I will reply as soon as possible, and you can see the description to find the or to download the code. My GitHub link will be available, so using that we can you can download the code actually. Okay, yes, thank you, bye bye.